right now as I'm filming this, it's about 30 odd degrees outside. It is absolutely baking hot. And some of us might be sat in our vans thinking, should I have done something different? Have I made a mistake? Have I missed an option? Today we're going to talk about that. And also I'm going to talk about a product, a new one, which I'm going to be getting for my new van. And then we need to have a proper chat about air conditioning, because some of the excuses that have been said in the past might not still be true today. A few tips before we get onto the other bits. First, have a cold shower before bed. It does make a big difference in lowering your body temperature. And also you could potentially have some ice packs, stick some ice blocks in the fridge, and then that could also potentially help cool you down. And one thing that can't be forgotten is cold drinks. Keep your cold drinks in the fridge and keep hydrated. And then as far as your pop-top canvas is concerned, if you can open the mesh, then the airflow can be greatly improved. Having that mesh closed can be more restrictive than you actually think it is. It's there to stop the small flies, so air doesn't pass through very easily. Open it up, you will notice a difference. So first of all, let's talk about some of the things which we can do to help ourselves. And one of them is insulation. Now, if you've not got your van insulated from new, then it's not really going to be something that you're going to want to be stripping out your furniture and things, but there is something else which you can do. Now, as far as the insulation, I can never say it properly. Well, people are always pulling me up on that. Insulation. So as far as that's concerned, it obviously helps your van when you're in the winter, because it's going to be keeping that heater in. And then also when you're in the summer, as we're kind of getting towards now, it's going to be keeping that heat out. It does help in those different temperatures, but you've either kind of got it or you haven't, apart from windscreen covers and thermal blinds and things like that. All these things which can help. But the thing is, a lot of people use blinds and they'll have them on the inside of the van. Now, if you've got the blind on the inside of the van, the heat's kind of already got inside the van. It's not keeping it away. So it's the external covers which are really, really beneficial for that. Now, you generally don't get them for the rear windows. It generally is just the windscreen and then the front windows themselves. But having the external cover, it does reflect that heat before it actually comes in. Now, insulated covers are what you need. And this is something which I want to be getting for my van. Now, I've got the silver one at the moment. I've had that for a number of years, although I've actually not at the minute because the mate took it over to France last year. I've not got it back, but he said it was absolutely amazing, loved it so much that he's still kind of kept hold of it. But yes, the ones which are insulated, the ones which have an insulation material in it. So what I'm going to be getting for my new van, which I've not actually told you about yet because I've not actually shaken hands. The deal hasn't been quite done yet, but I am working on it. And that's going to be rainbow screens. So you might have seen them around, the coloured covers come in lots of different colours, lots of different designs, really, really good. But also they are a very effective product because it will help keep that heat away from the van because they're insulated. They're not going to let that sun rays come in. And then also in the winter, it is going to help prevent, not going to completely stop, but it is going to help prevent that condensation because it's an insulated product. So I'll talk about that more when I have got my van and I've decided which one I'm going to go for, which design, because you can kind of create your own design. You can have lots of different ones. So yeah, so do watch the space on that. But an insulated cover, as opposed to some of the ones which are just kind of like a material, and if it's a black material, then it's just kind of adding to that problem. And as I said, external is far better, the internal ones. In winter, it is slightly different. You do kind of want them on the outside because it will prevent that frost build up, but also having one in the inside as well. The magnetic ones are quite good in the winter, so you can actually have them both in the winter. But with the covers, I've mentioned rainbow screens because I've seen them around. I've seen them on lots of people's vans. I've seen them at the NEC show whenever I go to any of the shows. I mean, there are other companies around. It isn't advertisement for them because I haven't actually chosen any products. I've not bought any products yet. But when I do, I will be talking about the rainbow screens ones. But yeah, just have a look out there. But it is that material, the insulation, which is kind of the key for doing what you exactly want it to do. But the next part of it really is physics, and that is how air actually circulates. And it's that exact word, that circulation, which is really going to help you in these warm temperatures. So you want to be keeping that air circulating. So you want to, if you possibly can, have the windows open. I've not got the window open on this, but you'd have the window open there. I've got the side door open here and I can feel that breeze coming in. But if that window was open, then it's going to be pulling through. And that goes for the windows as well. The front windows is wind deflectors. So you put those on the front window so you can actually drop the window. You're only going to be dropping it a little bit, but it helps with that circulation. And even if it rains, then you're not going to have water coming in because those deflectors kind of come over where the window's got to. So it is just going to help with that circulation. And then that also comes in at the back as well. So if you've got a tailgate van, you can buy tailgate locks. So essentially what that does, it leaves the tailgate slightly open. It leaves it ajar, leaving it a bit of a gap so air can circulate. So the air can come in and it can go out of one of the other ways. Now, if you've got a pop top, then obviously you can have a great big opening there. And on days like today, you're probably going to have that open. You might even have the full canvas open as well. So that air is going to be circulating and circulating. So it's not going to be too much of a problem. That's if there's a breeze. And if there isn't a breeze, then you're going to have to generate your own. And that's where kind of fans come in. So fans which you can stick on there. Combe Valley Campers spoke about one the other day in one of their posts. I haven't got one, so I can't comment on it. I'll put a link of it in the description. I don't know anything about it myself, but if Lee says it's a good product, then I'm guessing it is going to be an extremely good product. So yeah, so I shall link that one. Something which, after seeing his post, it is going to be something which I'm going to be investing in myself. And maybe I should have done it before a day like today. And then that comes with window vents. Window vents? That comes with the window vents. So with the Transporter T5 and T6, there's certain different companies that kind of fabricate products which can actually have the window open and it's still secure because you've put this vent in place, and then that will allow that circulation. You know, extremely important if you've got animals in there. And I do know that some people actually do keep the vents in there at all times because they just like that air to be circulating. So if you've driven your van away from the site or wherever you parked up and you've gone into a shop, you've gone to the beach for a day, you can still be leaving windows open and you can be having that ventilation in the van because you've cracked your windows open, because you've got your window vents. You've got the window vents, the big ones here, and then you've got the vents there as well. So it's just keeping that air circulating at all times whilst also keeping that vehicle secure. But also it kind of comes down to parking as well. So where you park the vehicle, you know, a bit of thought, you know, if you're going to be parking up for a day, you might be wanting to try and get it in the shade if you possibly can, although bearing in mind that the sun does move. So if you park it in the morning in the shade, might not necessarily be in the shade in the evening, but it's just something to think about. You know, if you could park it under a tree and it's got really good coverage, then you might actually have full shade all day. Or if you're thinking about parking the vehicle in an evening and where the breeze is, and if you're not actually obligated to be parking in a certain way on the particular site which you're at, then you might be able to park it so you can utilize the breeze, the way the actual wind is going, so you can actually circulate it better. So yeah, just a couple of extra things to think about there. But the big thing, and what really is effective in a camper van, is air conditioning. Now, air conditioning has had a lot of negatives over the years, and some of those comments have been, well, it's great for the 3 days of hot weather which we get in the UK. Well, we've had 3 days of really hot weather already, and we're only in May. You know, the UK is hotting up, the climate is changing, things are getting a lot different. So maybe it could be time that air conditioning might actually be more of a benefit than it used to be. I'm not saying it is, I'm just giving that thought out there. You know, what do you think about that? You know, and also, if you're going to be taking your camper van and you're going to be going down to the continent, you know, you might be going down to France and Spain and Portugal. You know, the temperatures there can be 30, 40 degrees, you know, on a regular basis. Well, maybe 30, 35. You know, it is a lot hotter there. So if you're thinking about taking your van over there and you're going to be going over for, you know, a reasonable amount of time, then it might be something that can be worth considering, because some of the products can be relatively cost effective. Now, one of the other big negatives that people always used to talk about when it came to air conditioning was, well, it takes a lot of power. You know, you do need a lot of power to be running these air conditioning units, and yes, you do. You know, it used to be a case of, well, if I'm on hookup, then I can use the air conditioning unit. But if I'm not on hookup, then it's going to actually really drain my batteries really quick. And that is still the same. It is still going to be taking a lot of that power. But the units are a lot more efficient than they used to be. And batteries are a lot more powerful than they used to be. You know, batteries have got smaller, but they've also got bigger in the sense of capacity, in this sense of power. They can power bigger items for longer. So the air conditioning units, you know, companies, and again, it's not an advertisement or anything, but Truma have got the Aventa, which is the one which you can get in campervans like this. So this particular campervan, I'm at Tamar Caravan Centre at the moment. This is one of their trackers, and it's not got air conditioning, but it is an option which you can get on a lot of vans. The Truma Aventa is the one which goes on the actual ceiling of the van, and then it kind of pops up as a vent. But then they've also got the Sapphire, which is the kind of the boxed unit, and then that boxed unit just goes into one of the cupboards, and again, that's an air conditioner, but it's also a heater as well. So it might be however much it is for the actual air conditioning unit, but it's also a heater as well, so it can be providing that heat for your van and also the air conditioning. You've also got portable devices like the EcoFlow. Again, I've never actually used any EcoFlow products in my life, but they do have a portable unit. They've developed that. I think they're on the 3rd generation now. So that's a portable unit. And then you've got Total Cool, which you did see at the NEC. And that really does let off some very, very cold air. Don't know how long they last, but that's something which you could actually have a look into. But additionally, what's also changed is not only have the batteries got more powerful and smaller, and also cheaper. They have got a lot cheaper. So putting more power in your vehicle now is a lot cheaper than it used to be. But with the influx of plug-in hybrid vehicles and also electric campervans as well, that need for power has already been fulfilled by the fact that these have got great big batteries in them. You know, you might have 13 kilowatt hour batteries as standard on the traction battery, or even bigger in some of the vehicles, especially when you're talking about a full electric vehicle. So actually powering the devices from a plug-in hybrid or electric can be a lot more straightforward than it would be for a diesel powered vehicle. But yeah, these electrical systems now can be built around these units. Maybe I might contemplate actually getting one for my new van. That might actually be a challenge. Can you run an air conditioning unit off leisure batteries? Who knows? Watch this space as far as that's concerned. I've yet to announce the van. I've yet to buy the van. But yeah, do watch this space on that. So I'm not saying that everybody needs an air conditioning unit. But if you're sitting in a boiling hot van today thinking, could I have done anything different? Then maybe that's actually your answer. I mean, I'm sweating here. I can feel the breeze coming in, but yeah, I am still sweating. So, do you think that now, with the climate rising the way it is, people going to Europe more in the vans, is there more of a need for these air conditioning units? Is it something you'd consider for your next van? Or is it potentially an upgrade that you might be thinking about for yours? I have to be completely honest with you. Like I've said, I think I am going to investigate it. Just to see, do a few maths first of all, find out what it would be like in a van to buy it and run it off leisure batteries. Do let me know in the comments, have you got air conditioning? Or do you think you need it? Or do you think that it's still going to be a waste of money? I'd love to hear your opinion. Anyway, if you haven't seen any more of the campervan videos, then you can have a look at those here. Thanks for watching, take care, and I hope to see you soon.